We're going to talk some Arkansas-specific farm income numbers, tell you what you might pay for that Thanksgiving bird, and much more on today's episode of the Arkansas AgCast, which starts right now.
You're listening to the Arkansas AgCast, where we discuss the latest news, trends, and issues impacting Arkansas farmers and ranchers. Our show is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau Federation and hosted by Jason Brown and John Nickman.
No, I was in a post-fair food slumber.
Asleep?
Yeah.
Did you doze off there for a second?
Kind of dozed off full of fair food.
Well, I also kind of forgot when to unmute you guys. So.
It's okay. I was asleep. I didn't know.
Yeah, the three of us ate a
other.
lot of food. Or maybe not a lot of food, just a giant mixture of
Speak for yourself.
cornucopia of different fair
Variety.
I
of
should
foods.
say carnival. No, it's the fair.
Yeah.
Fair food. Yeah.
We're going to come back to that though.
Yes.
I don't want to get there too quickly. Let everyone kind of gather their thoughts. We literally came back from the fair and sat down and to record this episode. So let's let everybody. Matthew's having a digestive over there to try and settle things down. It was quite the roller coaster.
The struggle.
Oh,
It was
no
a
pun
problem.
intended. Yeah. Before we get there, though, I tell you what's not a problem. White County Farm Bureau meeting the other night.
Yeah, I heard it was good.
We got a big old shout out from the podium. We being the podcast,
Tell me about it.
the Arkansas AgCast. They were teeing up the one of the guest speakers they had there,
Yeah.
and just so happened to be on a topic that we recently discussed here on the podcast, and quoted a story. I'll give it up. Quoted a story from the podcast, and gave us a shout out for having a great show. But it didn't stop there, my friend. No.
Did it not?
No, it did not. As a matter of fact, walking out the door, one of their agents stopped me and said,
Okay.
"Man, I like that podcast y'all got going on. I like you guys. Like,
Thank you.
Like we're kind of fun to hang out with, I guess. I don't know. Anyway,
Are you taking applications for friends? Or?
well, I handed out 20s to each individual, just because I felt like I owed them something.
I'm glad he said he liked it instead of like, well, it passes the time,
Actually, I tried to kind of. I was like, oh well, thanks. We're pretty
You're humble
goofy.
about it.
And he's like, well, no, really, I think you guys are a lot of fun to listen to. So
Good.
Thanks to y'all for White County for listening to the show.
Thank you.
We couldn't keep doing it if you didn't listen to it.
Tell your friends, too.
That's absolutely right. You can send a link to the audio version, video version, whatever you want to do. Sit down and listen
share,
to it at Thanksgiving.
Leave a review.
That too.
Yeah.
Gather everyone around a Christmas tree even. Play an
Little
episode.
fire. Just turn the podcast on.
Let me see. What else? We had some cool news here. You may have seen it already in the last couple of weeks, and that is Ricky Johnson joined the Arkansas Farm Bureau family as Director of Finance. Ricky came to us, I believe, from Riceland Foods.
Yep.
And yeah, just good to see. I think he knew quite a few of us, just, being ag industry small. We say that a lot. But good to have Ricky here, and he's been a joy to work with.
Yeah,
far.
he worked at Riceland, right? And I got to talk to him in the hallway the other day, and I said, "Well, where did you live in Stuttgart?" And he told me, and I said, "On Frederick Street." He said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
I said, "My parents live on Frederick Street."
No
They were
way.
neighbors.
No way. That's
I
funny.
had no idea. Then my dad texted me the other day. He's like, "Tell Ricky congratulations." I just talked to him about that. Yeah.
Well, where he grew up with a buddy of mine from college, and I poked my head in his office, like, "Hey, did you know Ben?" He's like, "Oh yeah, we were big buddies in high school." So
Arkansas is a small world.
Ain't that the truth, man?
Especially Eastern Arkansas.
Yeah, that's a fact. All right, let's talk about fair food for a minute. We were invited out, as we are every year. We talked about this a couple times on the show, but our PR team was invited out as part of the media luncheon food preview of the fair.
Yeah.
And we do usually make a video out there, but and we'll talk about that in a second. But you said as soon as we started talking about this, you're like, I'm going.
Yeah.
As an honorary member of I believe you called yourself an honorary member of the PR team a couple weeks ago.
I'm a card-carrying member.
You are.
Not an employee, just a paying
have a
member
card.
of the PR team. You don't have to pay a membership.
He made it. I saw where he made it. But anyway, so you joined us, which is like
I did.
Awesome. I don't know that anybody outside of the PR and production hub has ever.
I went into it
before.
thinking I was like, well, I'm going to get some free food out of this situation.
Yeah.
But then y'all put me to work.
We did
Like
put you
right
to
on
work.
the spot.
Not only put you to work, but you were on-air talent, which is like a skill you've developed in 2023.
I had to put that on my LinkedIn page.
Well, I'll be honest, my feelings were kind of hurt. I thought I was going to sit down and interview Matthew for a little bit of the time. He had handed me a microphone, and then next thing I know, I'm putting the mic on you, and Matthew's like, I want Mac to do the whole thing. I'm like, yeah, sure you do.
Well, it just we might be a little off the cuff whenever we do those fair food videos, and it might have just been. What if John just did the whole thing?
It was probably a lot simpler, less mistakes without me being in the mix for sure.
Less editing was my hope.
Yeah,
it was highly entertaining.
So Matthew, tell us what this year's video. Do you want to share if you're watching on Thursday, because the video's not going to come out till tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, I just eat fair food with a blindfold on and have to figure out what it is.
Which is much more you're deadpanning it, but that is very entertaining.
The thing is, for me, it was like I could see the food and I was like, or ooh, that looks nice, or no, and then Matthew can't see it, but he could taste it. And I'm just kind of either cringing or hoping for a good score.
I'll just say this: there was one of the 5 foods I tried blindfolded that was very out of left field. I've watched it back in my face.
I couldn't keep a straight face. That was.
Were you gonna have to blur your face at some point? I will say this: there's 2 levels of comedy. One is Matthew just reacting to the taste or whatever the food is.
Yeah.
The second, though, however, maybe my favorite is him navigating the eating process while blindfolded. At one point, I saw you poke yourself in the eye with one of the dishes.
One thing was on a very long stick. Longer than you would think possible.
Probably unsafe.
Blindfolded.
Honestly, operating with a blindfold.
Specifically blindfolded.
So we don't want to. Matthew's job, although he did critique some of the food, that the purpose of his the video that we did was really to kind of demonstrate some of the things there. So I don't think we can step on his toes if we talk about did you guys have something, let's say post blindfold in your seeing experience, did you have something that stuck out to you?
Well, there was one thing that I think stuck out to all of us like a sore thumb. There was a taco truck.
King Taco.
King Taco.
King Taco. I didn't see the name of it.
It's imprinted in the back of my head.
Some wonderful lads in there serving up tacos, but there was something special. And John, why don't you talk about what was special?
Yeah, the lads in the back are just very nonchalant about their whole situation with their tacos, which are very good, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this, I should have, all the signs pointed to stay away from this.
I don't think so. I think they were very inviting.
A random bottle of a white, kind of taco sauce.
A creamy verde taco sauce.
Friendly offering of tasty sauce for your taco.
Safe as can be.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that was not the case.
Well, what happened though? You got your tacos. You ordered steak tacos.
We both ordered the same thing, steak tacos. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I grabbed this thing of hot sauce, or didn't know it was hot sauce. So you probably have an idea what I'm leading to. And I was like, oh, I hope this isn't spicy. And
loaded his tacos down with it.
These tacos are about the diameter of a baseball.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Small.
And so
then I came behind. I was like, hey, there's no way this sauce is a problem. And I put some on my tacos.
Yeah.
And before I could take my first bite,
she was like, wow, that's hot. Boy, it just gets hotter, trust me. And he's like, well, that's not good. Well, I got halfway through my second one, and my eyes are watering, right?
I was sweating.
And Jason was like, well, that's just wrong. I'm mad. They should have told us about this. And we finally find the one stand that has drinks, right?
Uh-huh.
And we're standing there in line, and my nose is running, my face is red. I'm kind of just like, all I can think about is how hot, spicy my mouth is right now. Jason's still not in a very good mood.
Oh, I was not at a good place.
And I was just like, man, that made me dizzy. Like I almost wanted to faint a little bit. Like, I was lightheaded. And then after we went to the catfish little stand after that, I couldn't taste the catfish.
Not at all. Not at all. So Matthew comes along.
Well, yeah. So I see these two, and I'm like, these wusses. Like, they just had some habaneros or something, and were knocked out for the count. But being cautious, I went and got these tacos and just put a little bit, just a little dash.
Yeah.
Not even. Honestly, like you on the Louisiana sauce that says one drop does it. That's what I did. And then Jason looked at me and was like, "Oh, well, that's not very much." And so I just picked it up and put it in my mouth, like just the hot sauce itself. My tongue went numb immediately.
He immediately
it was like it was the instant that touched my tongue. And again, like they said, there was no warning. There was no, hey, this is hot. This is spicy. No.
And I don't even think the guys in the taco truck even paid attention to us afterwards either. I don't think they even...
No, it didn't even register to them that it might be hot.
And then Jason and I tried to like watch other people around the area that were using the sauce.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just weak, but
No.
There should be a waiver that you have to sign before you eat that hot sauce.
It was so hot.
I don't know that it was a ghost pepper sauce, but like it's right there, right? Like they talk about Scoville's or Scovilles or whatever.
Yeah,
it's right there.
That was a million. I don't know how they. Number one, I don't know how they made it so hot because there was no just defining like flavor.
It looked like kind of like a sour cream based.
Cilantro
sauce,
which is harmless in most cases.
It felt like it was like sour cream, cilantro, and like, some
fire.
pepper. Fire. Just
Something
literal
with
fire.
acid. I don't know, but I can tell you,
it was inappropriate and uncalled for. 100%.
It was. This is the last I'll say about it. It was number one. It hurt my feelings.
Yeah. I heard
Number
you say
two, it was so hot that I actually feel like it was a prank. Like because it was like media day, like everybody's eating this food at no cost.
I had that thought in the back of my head because when we were standing next to that truck and you were telling me how spicy it was, and then I told you it just gets hotter from there. Like at that point, if you took a picture of both of us, I bet it was just pure frustration.
We were in a panic.
Yeah. You think there's going to be a TikTok prank video featuring?
If there was a camera back there filming the people who ate, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm telling you.
No, you're like so focused on something, you have no idea what's going around you, and you kind of look misguided to some extent. That's how I felt for about 15 minutes after eating that.
It was hot.
I can confirm that's how you looked.
Yeah.
just glassed over eyes.
Really unsure about the whole.
I'll never just walk up and eat a sauce again like that. I'll tell you that.
Try not to think about it anymore. But there's my rant for
Let's
the day.
move on. So in other news, though, there were a couple good options. That Greek trailer, I'll call it. I don't know what to say.
The beef kebabs.
The concession stand.
One of my favorite.
The beef kebabs were really good.
Everything you could ever want fried.
Yeah.
The catfish was really good.
The catfish was good.
Even though I couldn't really taste it.
A fried peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah, you tasted that on blindfold, and that was quite the scene to see you try and sort that out. And you got a dessert, too, in addition to that, didn't you? Didn't you have a funnel cake?
Oh, yeah. I got a funnel cake with some lemon stuff on it. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
At this point, there's so many things rolling around in my stomach that I just don't.
I know. So you get the point. We're only covering a small portion of what we ate out there. And, it's so now we're trying to record this show. So it's a little distracting. Yeah, we're in recovery mode. All right, let's move on from the fair. Keep an eye out. This show is obviously going out on Thursday. You'll see that video of Matthew at the fair on Friday. It's one of the highlights, by the way, of my household every year since we started doing this. My daughter loves to watch the fair food video every year, so I'm sure she'll enjoy it. Moving on, this is an about face right here, buddy, from State Fair Food to the Senator and Farm Bill. Senator Bozeman was in town this week to speak with the Little Rock Club 99 about the Farm Bill. I know we kind of covered this last week, but one of the things he noted is that this House Speaker situation is delaying that process. Not much more to add there. He went in on some of the ins and outs, some of the priorities that he would like to see in the Farm Bill. You can certainly read a recap of that in lots of the statewide media outlets. But anyway, just wanted to share that and that he was in town, Senator Bozeman, to talk about the Farm Bill this week. And then we'll wrap up with Arkansas Ag Hall of Fame nominations. Those are open right now. The deadline is November 1st. So if you know someone deserving for recognition here in that, please, by all means, go to ArkansasAgHallOfFame.org to nominate them by November 1st. Gentlemen, anything else before we move on?
Nope.
Okay. We got a lot to cover. We are a little bit on time crunch today, so we're gonna keep moving. How about that?
Let's do it.
All right, well, that's a heck of a way to start. Crop quality and harvest updates for you here. We're going to cover the WASDE report that came out at 11 a.m. this morning, a little bit later in the show. But before we do, let's take a quick look at crop quality and progress in the state. The state corn crop is nearly complete with 97% harvested. We're on target with last year and remain a bit ahead of the 5-year average this week, and still no crop quality reporting from USDA, which I think we mentioned last week. Looking at rice, we've harvested 90% of the state's acres, and we remain well ahead of the harvest pace last year and the 5-year too. Light corn, no crop quality reported from USDA this week. I don't know the answer to this. I'm beginning to think it's once you get past a certain percentage harvested, they're not reporting on quality. I don't know that, but I can tell you we haven't seen quality reporting for corn or rice in the past couple of weeks, and that's obviously the most, the most crop harvested. So soybeans are now nearly 50% harvested, another big jump over the previous week, something we've seen happen the past couple of weeks, honestly. Undoubtedly, that's a result of this extremely dry weather. We remain ahead of last year and the 5-year harvest pace. That said, there's still about a quarter of the crop that is not matured as of right now. That could slow some things down. The crop is looking okay as far as condition goes, with about 60% rated good to excellent. We've got another 20% rated as fair. I've been hearing good things from farmers when it comes to yield about soybeans. We're going to talk about that on a national scale. Yeah. But have you heard anything here statewide
Not
or
since
statewide?
we talked about it last week.
Okay.
You know, I'd heard some people say they were kind of disappointed, but it wasn't anything terrible. But then I've also heard people say this is some of the best I've ever grown.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's more on that side.
Yeah.
The more positive.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Let me see. I know I asked a farmer the other day, you think you'll be done by November 1st? And he just knocking on wood, like as long as we can keep the train on the track. So I think we'll see a lot of guys done by Halloween, hopefully.
If we don't get any more rain, then they don't have any reason not to keep on pushing through, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and they've been running.
And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. Running all over the state from, 10 a.m. when it gets dry enough to 8 o'clock whenever the moisture level gets too high again. So people are rolling.
next up here is cotton. Do you want to talk a little slightly about what you did, or is that a passion project?
Well, no.
Okay, all right.
Because their combine broke, or their picker broke down right as I arrived.
Oh,
so,
no, I didn't know that.
So no.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was not caught up on that.
You'll have that.
Look, so nobody's guessing. Matthew had a goal of going out and gathering some nighttime harvest footage, but it sounds like maybe that will come again another day.
We try and we work. And we found someone running on beans at night, and they were still. I got some shots of them, but the cotton was not. Successful.
Well, buddy, I'm about to tell you how much cotton is left, so you can do some planning here. It's completely opened in the state, so if you're driving on the east side of the state, especially, keep your eyes open. You'll see some beautiful snowy white fields. We're headed that way, my family, this weekend, and I'm pretty excited about that. Excited to see it. Right now, we are sitting at 34% of the crop harvested. That's as of Monday or Tuesday, I guess. Almost double the progress from last week, so we are speeding through that rapidly. Yeah. We're still way ahead of last year's pace and tracking right along with the 5-year. The crop looks to be in good shape with nearly 75% of those acres rated good to excellent. And we'll wrap up with peanuts today. 75% of that crop is rated good to excellent. A slight drop from last week, according to USDA data. Harvest took another big jump this week, nearly doubling in progress with 66% dug and 15% harvested. We can't get out of here without talking about river levels. So you're going to talk about that here in a bit.
Yep.
Even though we've seen rain across the state, it's still a major issue for row crop
It is.
farmers, meaning the river level. I talked with somebody this week, and get this. I asked, hey, do y'all have storage? And he said, well, we have some storage that we haven't used since the early 90s.
Yeah.
And I said, well, are you going to revisit it? He said, I can guarantee you we're going to be using it.
You got
this year.
to.
It's anything you can get your hands on type situation.
I mean, I think I talked about it last week that somebody told me that what they're getting docked, with basis and all that, they would be better off paying the payment on new bins.
New bins.
Maybe it's like one more bin or something to their their stretch of bins. But if anything's taught you in the last 2 years, and if you look, like we were saying last week, I think the week before, the trend for that river has gone down at this month or last month. Each year at that point, it's been lower.
That's the point that you made
years.
that kind of blew me away. It wasn't just, hey, this looks like last year, it's just happening a little bit earlier. It's if you go back and look at year over year during the harvest period,
and just looking at 21, you wouldn't even have thought twice about it, right? And then all of a sudden 22 rolls around, you're like, oh, this is awful. And then like 23's here, and it's even worse.
Yeah.
So is that a continuing trend? We won't know until next year.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know.
Well,
you're leaving yourself up to Mother Nature.
I know it's tough. Well, if you're ready, let's just talk about how bad it is.
Yeah. I with this, I was going to focus more in on what Tyler. So might as well start off. We've got a new Ag Insider out, written by Tyler Oxner, which y'all have heard from on this show several times.
Yes.
He does a really good job. He and I did the initial report last year in 2022 on the Mississippi River. This year, he continued our work, which is now his work. But so here we go. Probably over the last month, like I said, you've heard us talk about the Mississippi River levels every week, but for a good reason.
Yeah, my goodness.
Or if you don't want to call it a good reason, there's a good enough reason to be talking about it. Yeah. Levels are at record lows, like we said. Just yesterday, or 2 days ago, I think, the Democrat Gazette reported levels near West Memphis reached 11.01 below gauge zero. We continue to see higher than average barge rates as well as widening basis points, which are affecting farmers' bottom line. Monday, like I said, Tyler Oxner published a new Ag Insider. On this very issue, Tyler goes into depth showing the difference in basis from this year to last year. Currently, farmers are receiving an average basis of 20 cents under the futures price for December contracted corn, but last year they were receiving 19 cents over the futures price. So we're going in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Soybeans, in the same context, are taking an even bigger hit. Farmers were receiving an average 14 cents over November futures prices in 2022, but are currently averaging 37 cents under November futures prices. Even worse. So in this article, Tyler gives a good visualization of how this impacts a farmer's bottom line. I'd kind of compare it to like our H2A article where Tyler and I gave an example of, because you have this many farmers, let's say this percentage of them, blah, blah, blah. We gave kind of a real world example of the cost impact. And he does the same thing in this article. And I think it explains it or kind of puts it visually really well. And unfortunately, this trend looks to continue through harvest if river levels don't come back up. And it will take a substantial amount of rain across the state or across the Midwest and the South, across the country to help the cause. And traditionally, we don't see that kind of rainfall until winter.
Right.
So it's we don't have much to look forward to as water levels going up or rainfall. But as this continues, grain storage will continue to be a bigger issue for producers, and basis will continue to trend in the wrong direction if the water continues to go down. So to read Tyler's article, visit arfb.com, click on AR Agriculture, and then Ag Insider. Also, if you have any questions or if we can help, feel free to contact Tyler. His contact info is at the bottom of that article on our website.
Okay.
And if you are interested in receiving any of those articles, we send them out, I think, once a month at a different Ag Insider.
Mm-hmm.
You can sign up through Constant Contact through that, or contact me or Tyler. We'll be happy to put your email on there as well.
Okay. I was looking at Northwest. That's great data, especially to see that year over year and sort of what's different about this year.
Yeah.
That's unique. I don't know that I've seen that anywhere else.
And what if we get to a point where we're having to hold on to grain longer than we did last year?
Mm-hmm.
What is that going to mean?
Yeah.
And how big of impact is that domino effect is that going to have?
Yeah, exactly. Like I think we've talked about it on the show before. You get into quality concerns there,
Yeah.
especially if you have to store it on the ground, tarp it, whatever that may be.
Also, like, people are holding rice, corn, so what room do you have left for soybeans?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it begs the question of, in my mind, are we going to have to start looking at different ways to ship out grains?
Yeah, that's one thing we talked about a few weeks ago. I think this is an opportunity for people to look at different marketing avenues.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a harsh truth, but we grow this amount of grain because of how big the export international markets and the demand for our crops are. If we don't have any way to get it to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. I was looking at National Weather Service earlier, and I saw that there's they use the words, and I quote, foreseeable future.
Yeah.
No improvement on the river stages. It's currently 8 inches below the low water mark that was set on October 21st, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, it set a record at West Memphis at minus 11.01, I think, or something like that. It's not just about harvest. We're thinking about next year too.
Yeah, well, you've also got fertilizer and other materials coming upriver.
Mm-hmm.
So that impacts not only the ag industry but other industries. I mean, you're talking about construction materials too.
Yeah. Well, I saw DTN reported yesterday that 4 of the 8 major fertilizers were higher this month than last month.
Yeah.
Specifically, anhydrous was 14% higher than last month. And you got to think that there's some shipping impact there.
I wonder if, producers had kind of seen this coming and maybe went ahead and ordered what they needed for next year before the river got too low.
Could have been.
You definitely might be patting yourself on the back if you were ahead of the game.
Yeah, especially if you booked corn at $6, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or booked your soybeans early. So
yeah. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about that world supply. We had a new WASDE report released today. As a matter of fact, we kind of held off on recording just so we could get it in to this episode. We want to cover some of the information that was included in that report. Taking a quick glance at the numbers, USDA has lowered production expectations for both corn and soybeans, which resulted in lower projected ending stocks for both. For corn, the report dropped production by 70 million bushels and lowered soybean production by 42 million bushels. New crop U.S. ending stock estimates were unchanged for corn, soybeans, and wheat in the report. USDA also lowered the yield estimate on corn by 0.8 bushel per acre to 173 bushels per acre. It held firm on the projected 87 million-ish harvested acres of corn, but lowered the ending stocks for this year's crop by 110 bushels, probably, I guess, for that yield loss.
Yeah.
Based on reporting from DTN, we leaned on them a little bit for this. The farm gate price for 2023-2024 crop is projected, and I'm talking about corn still, at $4.95 a bushel. That's a 5-cent increase from last month. USDA made no changes to the Brazilian and Argentinian crop, something we've also been talking about for months now. Yeah. Again, that's that average. That $4.95 is an average across the country and does not include things like basis fluctuations. So, looking at soybeans, USDA lowered yield forecast to 49.6 bushels per acre. So we dropped below 50 bushels on average, which is about half a bushel per acre lower than last month's report. So last month we were slightly above 50 bushels per acre. Now we're just under that on a national average. I believe we're at 50. I believe the projected yield for Arkansas was right at 53 or something like that.
That's what I saw.
The national average farm gate price for soybeans was left unchanged in this report, so it came down a little bit for corn, left the same here on soybeans at $12.90 a bushel.
That's a little low though over the last 3 months.
Yeah.
At one point, it was like $14.
Yeah. And I did see, we didn't include that in here, but I did see that, not in U.S. necessarily, but on the world supply, USDA was a little bullish, which made soybean prices react.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, wrapping up here, beef production for 23 was raised by 35 million pounds due to higher cow and bull slaughter in the second half of the year, which more than offsets the weaker feed cattle slaughter. And then lastly, in the report, we saw pork production for 2023 raised by about 130 million pounds.
Huh.
So, yeah, so a little bit of interesting news there. From what I could tell, everybody kind of puts out these pre-WASDE projections. From what I could tell, the WASDE did what it was supposed to do for the most part. So
Good.
No big surprises there. All right, let's take a short break from the news. If you've considered running for public office, we've got some news that you might want to hear. Registration is now open, actually until tomorrow, for our How to Win an Election seminar.
That's right. This seminar teaches how to evaluate the candidate in the electorate, build a campaign structure, raise money, and how to get voter attention, plus much more. Fun fact, Jason.
Oh, yeah?
According to the American Farm Bureau, candidates who have been through the program have a 75% winning percentage.
Oh, wow. The seminar takes place right here at our office on October 17th and 18th, and registration is already open. Like I said, it only costs $225 to attend, and that includes the classes and meals during the program. To learn more or register, just go to ARFB.com and search How to Win an Election. There's also a handy button right there on the homepage, but you better get signed up because, like I said, tomorrow registration closes. All right, let's get back to the news. My last story for the day has us looking a bit ahead but some good news, and we wanted to share that here since, frankly, we talk about food a lot.
Yeah.
All right, as you know, the week before Thanksgiving, we will share on this show the cost of cooking dinner for your family. That's one of the big highlights of food cost reporting that we do every year. But we thought we'd get an early jump on that this year.
Okay.
Based on reporting from American Farm Bureau, we should all expect to pay a little less for our Thanksgiving turkey this year. In fact, the average price per pound is down 22% from last year, when the average price was $1.63 a pound. Right now, we're looking at $1.27 per pound average across the country, and that's for an 8 to 16 pound bird, which is about what they say is what you'll feed your family on Thanksgiving. Why the lower cost? I'm glad you asked.
Why the lower cost? I'm curious.
Thanks to biosecurity measures taken by producers, we're well below last year's number of avian influenza cases. This has allowed us to increase supplies over time. Also, inflation just isn't as big a factor this year as it was last year, so turkey prices have come down a bit. Gang, are you ready? Lower prices in a season of higher demand could drive up cost a tad.
Is that a little bit of a
supply and demand sounder?
I don't know why we don't have T-shirts yet.
I know, but experts are still
water bottle
expecting.
stickers.
We need something. Experts are still expecting prices to stay below last year's cost, even with that in mind. Again, we'll have more on the cost of the total meal during our November 16th show. Until then, you better get to planning because you only got 42 days until Thanksgiving.
That's crazy because it still feels like it should be like July right now. It just seems like time's flown.
Yeah,
the weather outside. I'm glad it's here.
It's cooler today.
Time
than
has
I
just
think
moved so fast. Like it's already bow season for deer.
Yeah.
How
Have you
crazy is that?
gotten us one yet?
No, I haven't. I've been
summer sausage
once, but
yeah,
I can make that happen.
I'm sure would.
I'll put effort into making that happen. I can guarantee that.
You'll spend time in the deer stand.
I will. It'd be better than watching the Razorbacks play.
Look,
But
Mary Louise,
did I say
I've got to
that?
get out there to that deer stand.
I can't. watch
Jason
this
needs some
anymore.
summer sausage.
I got to feed the family, Mary Louise. She doesn't eat deer, by the way.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, I got one more for you.
Okay.
So I want to talk about net farm income, and especially for the state of Arkansas. So I think we talked about net farm income for the country a while back. So the Talk Business and Politics posted an article this week reporting on Arkansas's net farm income for 2023. The Rural and Farm Finance Policy Center, in conjunction with economists from the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture, projected net farm income in Arkansas to be down about $1 billion this year.
Wow.
This comes after a record-setting year in 2022 where net farm income in the state was $4.3 billion. According to their report, total farm receipts declined to $1.4 billion, with farm-related receipts offsetting a $1.5 billion decline in crop and livestock receipts. While production expenses decreased by $3 million and direct government payments fell by $60 million. I was really surprised to see production expenses drop across the state.
Yeah, same.
I would like to see where that came from.
Yeah.
But anyways, the Division of Agriculture Extension economist Hunter Byram, good friend of ours here at Farm Bureau, used corn, soybeans, cotton, and rice as examples in this article he was interviewed for. The decline in corn receipts can be attributed to lower crop prices received despite seeing a 20% increase in planted acreage compared to 2022.
Wow.
Corn prices fell 28% per bushel, mainly due to lower water levels in the Mississippi River.
There it is.
Yeah. Soybean receipts fell 25% on lower planted acreage and lower crop prices. Cotton fell 8% on lower planted acres despite higher crop prices. And rice receipts increased 11% on 330,000 more planted acres compared to 2022. So that's kind of a bright spot. Byram also expects government payments to decline year over year from $460 million to $400 million due to Emergency Relief Program Phase 2 payments being $150 million less than Emergency Relief Program Phase 1 payments received in 2022.
Yeah.
Although operating expenses such as seed, fertilizer, pesticides, and fuel falling $177 million, interest, labor, and rent to landlords increased by $143 million.
Goodness gracious.
It's kind of hard to make a living when you got that much money involved before you even harvested.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth?
So on the other hand, there was a little bit more kind of details, tidbits I wanted to share from this article as well.
Yeah.
Despite a decrease from 2022 to 2023, Arkansas net farm income is still above 2015 and 2022 averages and remains higher than levels seen in 2021. So I think there's some COVID kind of pandemic stuff at play.
That's what I would assume too.
But, you know, inflation's always also there.
Especially in that 21.
Yeah. So poultry and egg receipts declined a combined $1.1 billion in 2023, largely due to lower prices. Cattle prices have grown by $233 million, while hog receipts declined $9 million. Egg receipts declined on lower prices, which reflects the industry's recovering following the avian influenza outbreak that affected 44.43 million birds in commercial egg operations. Poultry production is 2% higher through August, and the national composite broiler price is tracking 3.6% below 2022. Both have led to lower cash receipts in Arkansas. And lastly, cattle receipts are higher on cyclically high prices following 3 consecutive years of contraction in the industry. So all this kind of plays into what we've been talking about over the last, I guess, since I've been on the show since January.
Yeah.
Cattle issues, the pandemic, the Mississippi River, government prices that or government payments, high input costs. I mean, what was it I was saying about the landlord and the rent?
Yeah, the rent going up 100.
Interest, labor, and rent to landlords increased by $143 million across the state.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's how it kind of looks like my neighborhood.
Which almost equaled the savings that they saw on fertilizer, pesticides, and input, fuel.
It's almost a wash.
Things. Yeah, almost a wash there. So really, really something to see. And I don't know, just kind of goes to show you, how much of a challenge this business can be.
Yeah, there's nothing easy about it. I think a quote I'll never forget growing up, a farmer that I worked for told me, he said, "John, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "Well, I think I like farming." He said, "Well, that's kind of like me saying as a kid I wanted to be a cowboy like John Wayne." It was just, it's that difficult to get into. And he also told me that putting a seed in the ground is a 50-50 chance. I'm the biggest gambler. A farmer is one of the biggest gamblers. You're just hoping that it comes up. You know? And it's that those two comments put it really
kind of crazy to imagine
at such a young age.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
So,
well, that is the news. Matthew's here. I'd like to say that I bet you got food to talk about, but you may have skipped that.
You know,
So you
we
fully
have
recovered?
a little food to talk about.
Okay.
Before the show started, John and I were talking some Italian restaurants, and it got me thinking, what's my favorite Italian place in the state?
Yeah.
So the one I think of anytime I think of where I want to eat is probably up in Cave Springs, which is, that northwest Arkansas area. You're getting up there in our buddy Wes Evans territory.
Yeah.
And there's a place called Pasta Fina.
Pastafina.
It's top notch, from the lasagna to the stuffed mushrooms, tiramisu.
Really?
all great there.
Do you think that's different than the deep fried lasagna we saw at the state fair today?
I think it's a hair different than
Okay,
deep fried
I'm just
when
curious.
a hair different.
yeah.
Anyways,
She said that. I was like, nah. I'm good.
trying to think of something positive to say about
Pastafina's Cave
Springs. It's I would recommend if you're up in Northwest Arkansas. There's lots of good Italian places up there, but they're of the ones I've tried. They're at the top.
Okay.
One I'm trying to get into is maybe you guys have seen here in Central Arkansas. We've got George's that has just opened.
I
I've
don't
been
know
there.
this place.
Have you been?
I've been, yeah.
How
Yeah.
was it?
A good buddy of mine, I think is kind of in the operating group for George's.
Uh-huh.
So I was excited to see him, and they seem to be pretty
Is this the
successful.
place
So-
that went in Cafe Prego?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
So you're the reason why you can't get reservations for the next 3 months because they're letting in
No, that
friends
is not
and
true.
favors.
My wife was really excited about it. We got reservations, and then
Okay,
for
okay.
something we had to cancel. Then we got reservations again.
Okay.
The
Sounds like he might be able to make a phone call for you.
the bread,
Yeah.
the bread,
I've been trying
Yeah.
to get a
is
reservation. At this
really
place.
really good.
Yeah.
So it lives up to the hype.
The bread's really good.
The bread's really is the pasta.
and the pasta's really good. I think they're more of a al dente pasta.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
traditional
Mhm,
Italian. So
mhm,
I know a lot of people are more used to SpaghettiOs, so don't go into
yeah.
George's expecting that.
Yeah.
Know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So-
exciting. I feel like Little Rock. We have Bruno's, and we've got
Capello on my side of the river. I don't
Capello,
know
yeah.
if you would,
yeah.
but I think
there's a few good ones, but it's always
Uh-huh.
good to have another option out there. So
George's is good.
excited
and
to give
it's-
George's a try.
I really like the theme
Yeah.
inside.
interesting.
Anyways, that's all I really have on the food front this week. I feel like we did a lot of food talk on the front end too. So
Yeah, we did. We'll leave it at that. And let me see. Yeah, I guess that wraps us up for the week. Thanks for following along with the Arkansas AgCast. We're grateful for you taking the time to watch and listen.
Remember, you can catch new episodes on the show every Thursday afternoon. Find video episodes on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the audio version wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yep, make sure you subscribe and leave us a review when you have a few extra minutes. The Arkansas AgCast is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau. I'm Jason Brown,
I'm John McMahon.
and we will see you next week.
I think it's really funny. John was really struggling to find the outro notes.
Again.
I was in the middle of George's menu.
We'll see you guys next week.